this is an interesting proposition because Jonathan Ross and his team of engineers were some of the ones behind the Google Alphabet tensor processing unit type products out there. Just how much does this change the landscape within chips overall?
Yeah, so what they're doing, so he did, Jonathan Ross was the creator of the first generation of the TPU back in, I can't remember when it was, almost a decade ago. What Groq is doing is not a TPU per se, but they've got some very interesting architectures for high bandwidth, low latency inference. And so I think that's where this comes to play. Like, you know, in NVIDIA, there's always this narrative out there for NVIDIA that they're not winners in inference. I have not been a believer in that, but that narrative has been out there. By effectively, I know they're not acquiring the whole company, but effectively acquiring the company and the personnel and the technological talent, it gives NVIDIA the ability to integrate some of those architectural innovations into presumably into their future roadmap. I think it also massively improves that narrative, this idea that they can't be a winner in inference. I think that bear case gets a lot harder to argue with this. I also thought it was interesting, you know, it's funny, you talked about this being the largest deal they've done, which is true, but they're so big now that they can do a $20 billion deal on Christmas Eve with no press release, and like nobody bats an eye. Like, relative to their market cap, this is not very big. Like it's actually a very small bolt-on. So taking that, I mean, so what that means is that the risk for them, I think, should be relatively low.
All right, Stacy, if this is not that big of a deal in terms of the overall assets as a percentage of balance sheet that NVIDIA is putting to work right now, how much could this change the paradigm or construct with which other chip companies view their product lineups and their pipelines? Do they all need to kind of diversify a little bit more?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again? I lost you for a second.
Yeah, Stacey, I'm wondering if other chip companies have to kind of follow through and diversify a little bit of their own product portfolios and pipelines, given this type of a deal with NVIDIA and Groq.
Well, you have to remember, most of the other chip companies out there in AI are having a hard time competing anyways, right? So it's hard enough for them to compete in their own core markets without worrying about diversifying. But I think it actually widens the gap or widens the moat that NVIDIA has had over their competition. It certainly is going to make it tougher for the competition to compete.
Stacey, thoughts on Intel? I mean, it's had the stock has had a great year. It's up 79%.
Yeah, it really has, and not really like from any sort of fundamental basis, but I mean, fine. You know, in the near term, their market should be better. PCs have been pretty strong on some of the upgrades and Windows end-of-life refreshes, and servers, which have been very weak for the last several years, server CPUs are undergoing a cycle now. So those things are good. It's good for their competition as well. Structurally, they're still in a very tough spot, though. I mean, their process tech is still, I mean, they're still ramping their new process. The yields are not great. They've even admitted this, that the yields are not super. Any kind of foundry customers, I mean, there's a lot of hope around that, but it's still going to be years before we ever see anything there material, if at all. And in those core markets, they're still losing a ton of share. I think they've, and clearly, as we all know, they're still burning a lot of cash. I think they've got a lot of fundamental issues. Now, at the same time, you know, there is more support, and I think I've said it on you know, your channel in the past, like Donald Trump wants the stock to go up is a bull case of sorts. It's not my kind of bull case. But a lot of that, the governmental intervention, and then the subsequent investments from others on the wake of that are the reasons that the stock has become supported. I mean, they're being started to view as too big to fail. I'm not sure I agree with that, frankly, but that is a perception that has developed. I still think it's going to be a slog, though. I mean, look, I've said before, it took 10 years to break it. It's going to take 10 years to fix it. You know, 10 years, they started in 2020. 10 years would be 2030. It's probably going to be, you know, in that time frame before we really know if this turnaround is really going to be successful or not.
NVIDIA striking a $20 billion deal to license technology from the AI chip firm Groq, G-R-O-Q, and hire away some of its top executives. Mackenzie Sigalos has more in today's Tech Check. Mac.
Hey, Brian. So NVIDIA's dominance in AI chips is so big that the next moves are about locking in what comes after GPUs. Now, this Groq agreement, it brings over the founder, key leaders, and the company's IP. 3 months ago, Groq raised at a $6.9 billion valuation. So this is close to a 3x premium and by far NVIDIA's largest deal yet. NVIDIA is calling it a licensing agreement, not an acquisition. The cloud business stays independent, but it's the same playbook that Microsoft, Google, and Amazon have used to scoop up AI talent without triggering regulatory reviews. Now, NVIDIA, it is sitting on $60 billion in cash, up from $13 billion 2 years ago, so they can afford to pay up. And in fact, they have been looking for places to park that cash. So the real question is, why use it for a company that just slashed its 2025 revenue projections by 75%? And the answer comes down to chip design. Groq's chips keep data closer to the compute on the processor itself rather than shuttling it to separate memory chips. NVIDIA's GPUs rely heavily on high bandwidth memory, a supply chain controlled by just a handful of firms. So this deal could ease that bottleneck while helping NVIDIA design cheaper, more power-efficient server chips for running AI applications. But there's also another way to read this. Gil Loria from D.A. Davidson told me that this looks like an entirely defensive deal. NVIDIA wanted to make sure that technology that could challenge its lead didn't end up in the hands of Broadcom or AMD. NVIDIA controls roughly 90% of the AI chip market and faces antitrust scrutiny in the EU, UK, and China. So this lets them add capabilities while avoiding the M&A spotlight. And it eliminates one of the few credible competitors trying to chip away at its dominance in running inference workloads. Guys?
Mac, that's exactly where I was going to go with you. Are there other competitors to Groq with a Q in this marketplace? Could we see more M&A or more exotic deal making, if you will, in light of this?
Well, we know that Intel is looking to make an acquisition on that front as it beefs up its chip program. And what's so fascinating about this deal in particular is the fact that the Groq CEO and founder, Jonathan Ross, isn't just any founder. He helped build Google's TPU, which has become NVIDIA's most credible competition. Google stock, that's up 65% this year, and the TPU is a big part of that story and why it's been landing these major deals with Anthropic and Meta. And now the guy who designed that architecture is going to NVIDIA.
Do TPUs kill GPUs?
TPUs are essentially Google's alternative to GPUs, yes. And so they are cheaper to run. Google has been pretty quiet about what the price point is here, but we have seen a lot of people start to pivot to Google Cloud, and because the TPU has such a good reputation out here in Silicon Valley, also on the street.
All right, Mackenzie Sigalos, thank you.
NVIDIA's non-exclusive licensing deal with Groq was a crucial step in securing its hegemony in the AI inference business. As the AI sector moves from training huge models to real-time deployment, analysts at Rosenblatt Securities see the transaction as a crucial move to bolster NVIDIA's market leadership and fend off competition from Alphabet Google's Tensor Processing Unit, TPU. As Wall Street and investors indicated their approval of the strategic agreement, NVIDIA's shares increased on Friday. A significant transfer of elite talent is at the core of the deal. Alongside Groq's president, Sunny Madra, and other important team members, NVIDIA will work with Jonathan Ross, Groq's founder and the original designer of Google's TPU program, to grow the licensed technology. Under new CEO Simon Edwards, Groq will continue to function independently, and NVIDIA will have access to Groq's Specialized Language Processing Unit, LPU, technology. The LPU technology is tuned for low-cost, high-performance inference. It is anticipated that the forthcoming LPU V2 will switch to Samsung's 4-nanometer process, which would result in notable improvements in power efficiency and an order of magnitude higher performance. Rosenblatt argues in defending the competitive moat that the decision to choose a license arrangement over an outright acquisition was a deliberate attempt to evade the regulatory scrutiny associated with past big tech mergers. The licensing approach is reminiscent of a similar action taken by NVIDIA in September 2025 to strengthen its networking infrastructure through a $900 million contract with Infabrica. By licensing the technology and employing its architects, NVIDIA successfully neutralizes a growing rival while enhancing its technical skills. Rosenblatt kept its buy rating and price target for NVIDIA shares at $245, pointing out that the chipmaker's reach across a number of end markets might be further expanded by the possible integration of Groq's LPU hardware with NVIDIA's CUDA development tools. With the Groq acquisition, NVIDIA is positioned to maintain its position as the clear leader of the upcoming AI infrastructure era. NVIDIA is using its enormous cash reserves to maintain its dominance in the AI business, as seen by its license agreement with chip startup Groq. In an interview with clients, Bernstein analyst Stacy Rasgon stated that the NVIDIA-Groq purchase seems to be strategic in nature for NVIDIA, which is using its increasingly potent balance sheet to preserve supremacy in important areas. In the most recent quarter, NVIDIA's cash inflow reached $22 billion, up more than 30% from the year before. In a note on Friday, analysts at Hedgeye Risk Management stated, "This transaction is essentially an acquisition of Groq without being labeled one to avoid the regulator's scrutiny. The action is merely the most recent in a series of AI agreements made by NVIDIA, the first $5 trillion corporation in history." The chipmaker has made investments in AI companies across the board, from neo-clouds like Lambda and CoreWeave that compete with its big tech clients and specialize in AI services to major language model developers like OpenAI and xAI. NVIDIA has also made investments in Infabrica and Intel, two chipmakers. Around 2020, the business attempted in vain to purchase British chip architecture designer ARM. NVIDIA has been accused of engaging in circular financing methods reminiscent of the dot-com bubble because to its extensive investments, many of which are in its own clients. The business has strongly refuted those allegations. Groq, on the other hand, aimed to compete with NVIDIA. Groq, which was founded in 2016, produces language processing units, LPUs, for AI inferencing and markets them as substitutes for NVIDIA's GPUs. While inferencing refers to employing a trained model to produce outputs, training AI models entails teaching a model to recognize patterns in vast volumes of data. AI devices must provide enormous processing power for both procedures. Despite its clear dominance in the AI training chip industry, several analysts predict that NVIDIA may soon face more competition in the inference arena. This is because some activities may be better suited for specialized processors, like Groq's LPUs, language processing units, and possibly Google's TPUs, tensor processing units. For example, LPUs that use a kind of memory technology called SRAM inside the chips are faster and more energy efficient. NVIDIA GPUs, on the other hand, depend on off-chip HBM produced by Samsung and Micron. In a recent interview, Ross, CEO of Groq, stated that the startup wanted to supply inexpensive chips for half of the world's AI inference computing needs. "The goal we have is to bring the computation cost as close to zero as possible." He told the Indian business publication Your Story, "We want to make it cheaper every year." Notably, Ross oversaw the creation of Google's first-generation TPUs, which is NVIDIA's biggest rival. NVIDIA's acquisition of Groq personnel and licensing of its intellectual property, according to Cantor Fitzgerald analyst CJ Muse, demonstrated the chipmaker's ability to play both attack and defense in the AI market. According to Muse, the agreement would enable NVIDIA to capture an even larger portion of the inference market. On Friday, NVIDIA's stock increased by almost 1%. Others on Wall Street were more perplexed by NVIDIA's action and its possible $20 billion price tag. The insufficient memory capacity of Groq's processors, according to Hedgeye Risk Management experts, makes them still unproven for large AI models. Alex Platt, an analyst at D.A. Davidson, adding that Groq's current technology is severely constrained to a very small subset of inference workloads. Cantor Fitzgerald wrote to clients on Friday that NVIDIA is ready for an outperformance. The company added that NVIDIA stands to gain from a greater AI demand inflection in 2026, and that the current decline in AI-related names may be exaggerated. Citing sustained data center demand and product cadence, Cantor Fitzgerald has set a $300 price target and maintains a buy-equivalent overweight rating on the chipmaker. Although NVIDIA's stock increased almost 6% in the last month, as some investors returned to the market, the company's shares have mainly stagnated since its third-quarter results. Some worry regarding valuation and the wider technology rally was observed by analysts, but they contended that these worries might overlook the longer-term secular forces associated with AI infrastructure spending. According to Cantor, next year's performance and sentiment may be improved by catalysts including data center improvements and product rollouts. According to the firm, if AI spending picks up speed again, NVIDIA might spearhead a wider industry rebound. As AI fears fade, an analyst predicts that NVIDIA will regain its leadership position. Cantor Fitzgerald analysts believe that despite recent consolidation, NVIDIA shares are poised for fresh gains as we approach year-end and 2026. The company claimed in a year-end letter that investor worries about a possible AI bubble had affected sentiment, but that these worries are unfounded. Cantor noted that while long-term demand drivers are still present, the broader AI trade has been under pressure, and that NVIDIA's recent sideways trading is a sign of caution rather than declining fundamentals. The company anticipates that the valuation gap in NVIDIA shares will close in 2026 as interest in AI spending picks up speed, believing that the industry is approaching a significant turning point in AI demand. Cantor keeps his price objective for the company at $300 and his buy equivalent overweight rating. Over the previous month, NVIDIA's stock has increased by roughly 3%, a modest increase that experts attribute to investors temporarily holding off. Don't forget to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Your input helps create a more knowledgeable community where we can all learn and grow together in the world of investing. Stay up to date with the latest market trends, insights, and key updates by subscribing to Investing Tutorial. We're here to help you make smarter investment decisions and stay ahead of the curve.
The deep dive that reporters have done to understand whether we really understand how many GPUs are going to megaspeed and where they're ending up here. And talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of evidence. It's important to point out, as you already did, that NVIDIA says there's nothing going on here. Megaspeed itself says there's nothing going on here. But, our colleagues reporting here, Caroline, is that there is an investigation going on, and, Southeast Asian governments and also Washington are looking at this and still trying to find out whether there has been anything significant going on. Go ahead, sorry.
Well, from what we know, it's a Singapore-based company, Megaspeed, operating fully in compliance, as they say, with applicable laws. But what ultimately has had to spring up ever since the Biden administration back in 2022 was a restriction on sophisticated chips coming from NVIDIA to China. So suddenly you saw other Asian countries become real areas of focus for importing chips so that Chinese companies could actually do the workload, could do the compute outside of their own country, correct?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. There's nothing illegal with setting up a data center and serving Chinese customers, providing those customers don't have links with a banned entity in the US, whether that's the military or some company which the US government has decided serves China's military. However, there is a suspicion about these links, about who's in control of what. There is and this is the problem that NVIDIA has to face, and NVIDIA, say, look, there's nothing to see here, there's nothing to worry about. But as you'll see from our story, there's a lot of links between individuals in China. There are, there's a lack of clarity in the relationships, which I think everybody is trying to work through to make sure that there is nothing untoward going on.
Because Bloomberg didn't find evidence of any megaspeed NVIDIA chips actually being diverted to China, but there's all these inconsistencies, as you say, in megaspeed Southeast Asia demand and chip inventory and wherever they all end up, Ian. What's so interesting is this is a moment where maybe actually NVIDIA will get more access to China. H200s have, in theory, or at least according to a Truth Social post, been allowed back into China. The question is whether China wants them, but also whether Megaspeed will actually have Chinese demand going forward if indeed we start to see access once again to mainland.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a kind of a transition period where we're trying to find out exactly how this will all play out. NVIDIA wants to do business directly in China. That's absolutely true. At the moment, it cannot do that because of these restrictions. What we're trying to find out is whether the Chinese want to do business directly with NVIDIA, and if that's the case, what level of demand that there will be there. NVIDIA has really kind of had a good year in Washington. It's gone from really restrictive rules to a freeing up of some of them. But again, that has to translate into shipments into that Chinese market. And we haven't seen that yet, and we don't know that that will actually happen. Clearly, stories like this, that there are suspicions about smuggling, that we, perhaps should be more secure and more kind of careful in how we deal with China and Chinese entities, don't help that case. So again, there's a lot at stake here, and we really need a lot more clarity about the details of how this is all going to work out.